Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Week number 2 is in the books, and here, like we were last week, I am Patrick, your host, and with me, as always, is Will.
Good evening. Good morning. Hello. How are you guys?
How we doing, guys?
How are you doing?
So we would just like to say thank you for the support. We had over 40 whole listens in our first week, and it really meant a lot to us. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Meant the world. Meant the world. I mean, I actually retired from my job, my full-time job, and it gave me enough courage to continue doing this as my main thing.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday night, put my son down, and this is how I make money now.
Yeah. So this better work.
Keep watching. You have to keep enjoying.
Yeah, this better work. This better work. So look,
it's all my eggs.
That's it, guys. We went all in. Chips all in on this. But hey, we appreciate it. We're here for number 2, and I'm not sure what we're going to call this thing yet, but we're super excited to give you week 2 recaps, looking ahead to week 3, and trying to make sense of this crazy season that we've had so far, huh?
Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in. I mean, I think tale of 2 weeks, and the quintessential early season overreactions have already been levied by maybe yours truly, by others. But the general professional punditry, I think there's a lot to cover here in IRL football, which we will dive into. But as you say, we would definitely want to get into matchups and also cover some of the young guns. Because every year we're drafting, hey, what's Derrick Henry up to? Oh, did you see the Saints sign Latavius Murray? He's been good. We're not talking about those guys.
No.
We're talking about these young guns, these youthful firearms who we're going to plug into our lineups, hope and wish, and sometimes you're going to get a Jamar Chase. Are you not, Pat?
Hey, look, I think if you look at the teams in the last few years, you need that superstar power. But those emerging rookies, those are the ones that are going to get you over the top to get those Odell Beckhams, those Alvin Kamaras, the guys who are clearly the offense now. And I think we have a good batch of those. And I think we'll talk maybe year 1 and also year 2 guys. The year 2, Jalen Waddles, Jamar Chase, we know them. But there's some other guys under the radar that I think are going to be either rostered currently or will be coveted tomorrow at around 11 a.m. Eastern time. So if you like,
it's waiver season.
It's always waiver season. It was waiver season like 2 days after the draft.
Every day. And I'm surprised, by the way, that you were like, what? Other leagues pick up on Wednesday and we're Thursday league. We got to wait for.
It's because I'm so laser focused.
All the pickups. We're going to bed tonight with like accurate for the rest of the world ownership percentages. Like, wow, that guy's really owned. Everyone's already picked their guys up, pal. We have a special league.
Yeah.
Special guy.
I'm focused on the freaKShow. I'm in one league only. And that's all I got for you. So we got Thursday pickups, we got Saturday, we got Sunday. Wednesday doesn't exist to me. I'm a regular father, husband, employee on Wednesdays, except for 9 o'clock when we kick this podcast off.
So let's talk about that IRL stuff.
Let's do it.
Out. So, Pat, you are, Patty Figures, Patty Facts, Patty Smithsonian, Patty Liberty Science Center, Patty Franklin Institute, Danklin Institute.
Let's go.
Move on. You know the real game. You're close to it. You yourself were a middle linebacker.
So an outside linebacker, in the Lou Solomon system. Yeah, I my 165-pound frame wouldn't support the middle of the field. But either way,
all academic. But you know the game. So I want you to just kind of call out. We'll talk about it. The top 5 in real life performances that were like you actually watched the tape back. You watched the highlights of what happened. You're like, that guy's really good. That guy's like going to be a superstar. That guy's superstar good. That guy's not just like, hey, a lot of targets today. Like nice game script. You're like that guy's Geno Smith could throw to that guy. Give me your guys. Let's start it off.
Yeah, let's just kick it off, man. I think if we're talking whether it's a young gun, a regular gun, or an old gun, I would say the first guy is the guy you got in your back in your background, man. Watching Garrett this Sunday was an absolute treat. Seeing him. I'll tell you, that fade he ran for his first touchdown was just so fun for me as a fan.
A shimmy that would like give a guy whiplash. That was
it was sweet.
shitty.
It was sweet. And then he had another
Oh
route
my God.
where he had it was like a 20-yard out route that he ran on a big third down. The guy wasn't even near him by the end of his route. So I think from a route standpoint, from a hand standpoint, and who knows how good our system's going to be. I think we're still in week 20 of LaFleur.
If I may, though,
you may.
Devil's advocate. Look, I'm a Garrett owner, right? So I've watched a lot of Jets YouTube content in the year 2022. It's one of the brightest spots of my life right now. But look, I mean, he's doing this thing where he's stopping. Like he'll stop, and then he'll press the circle button for all you PlayStation heads. And he doesn't have enough momentum to do the full 360. He just kind of gets stopped. It looks nice. He does a quick pirouette. It's given him nothing. I've seen him do it 3 times now. Go back and look at the tape.
Okay.
And then get a little bit more momentum before he slams circle and tries to do the spin. Otherwise, I mean, I would call that a perfect game.
Yeah.
Second game of career.
He's a little bit ambitious with the ball in his hands, but the important thing is he has the ball in his hands. He's making the catches.
Yep.
So I love Garrett this week.
Can you imagine the Joe Flacco punditry that's happening, where people on the fantasy side and real life a little bit are kind of like, well, I mean, sure, they're playing from behind, but looks pretty good out there. We might have to downgrade these guys when Zach's back. Like, that's crazy talk. But Joe Flacco has not been a serious quarterback for a team that's like, we like Joe a lot in this position.
I'll tell you what, man. I was not excited about Joe under center in week 1, but I'll tell you, we haven't won a September game since Sam Darnold kicked off the season in 2018 against the Lions. So this is this is uncharted territory for a Jets fan. I haven't seen a win in September in some time. So look, Joe can distribute. I think this offense needs a point guard. He's a little bit smarter than Zach at this point in Zach's career, and if he knows where to go with the ball, let's let the old man distribute. Let's let the Autobahn alone.
Garrett himself said he throws a catchable ball. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Who in the freaKShow throws the most catchable ball? I think I know who you're going to say.
Rob Gotti, without a doubt. Rob has.
Is there any other answer?
There could never be another. The 2-0 Rob Gotti. So whether it's a silky smooth jumper or a catchable fade, we're looking at the undefeated man, Rob Gotti, at the only guy hosting a 2-0 record. But number 2, right?
Bullets, though. Yeah, please.
Yeah, he doesn't need to. He's all touch. So I will say this, man. Look, number 1, obviously Garrett. That was super fun for me. Number 2, we're gonna go with the young gun, and I'm a Game of Thrones guy. I believe maybe it's not.
Topical.
Maybe, but the prince that was promised is a phrase that was said many a time, and the prince that was promised. You look at number 16 in Jacksonville. I think Trevor Lawrence, he had the second highest QBR this weekend. Wow. Not a popular pick in most people, but I think when you look at what Trevor's doing right now, I fucking love Trevor Lawrence. Like you have a guy who was the highest. I was watching Trevor Lawrence highlights on Instagram when he was before he committed to Clemson, when he was doing Elite 11 camps.
Sure.
Amazing at Clemson.
Man, you're watching children tape.
Hey, there's no off season. There's no off season for me. But I'll say this, man. When you look
at him as a fantasy player, not just as an IRL. Look, this guy is a 12-year-old. We knew he was going to be good. He's obviously very good. But are you suggesting to the league members, guys out there of Kirk Cousins, guys out there are rostering Russell Wilson, that they should consider Trevor Lawrence, despite 2 weeks have gone by? His top man is certainly a known entity, not a young gun anymore, Christian Kirk. You think this guy is a fantasy stalwart?
I see a very, very similar Joe Burrow-like trajectory. So if you look at Joe was not as highly touted as a prospect, but obviously he was incredibly accomplished in college, checks every box and then some, right? Like, I think when you think of slam dunk first overall picks, it's like I would say maybe Carson Palmer, but definitely Eli Manning. Sure. You have your Peyton Manning, and now I would say Joe Burrow, and even a Matt Stafford, guys who are every bit the part of that career starting quarterback. And it's just so fun for me because I like
Johnny Manziel first overall now.
He's 22nd or 23rd overall. The first overall in that draft was Jadeveon Clowney. Way off. That's okay. Well, his Netflix doc is coming out, so you'll get all the Johnny content you can handle. But
all right,
I'll just say this on Trevor.
Because I'm not convinced from a fantasy perspective. He's showing us no wheel.
That's okay.
Trevor dropped back.
we want him to be a pocket passer. He was a little shaky week 1, but I just think, look, when you have a guy like Doug Peterson is the perfect coach for a guy like him. Like, he made Carson Wentz. Like, think about what Carson Wentz is now. And I know it's kind of silly to say that because he's probably, second in the league right now after 2 weeks. But you don't want Carson Wentz as your starting quarterback. I think he's the number 2 fantasy quarterback right now. That's great, but I don't think it's sustainable. Point is, Doug Peterson coached up Carson, made him look like the MVP. Then he took over for Nick Foles and won the Super Bowl in the same season. So the best thing for a young quarterback is to have the perfect coach for him. So I think you look at like a Drew Brees, right? The guy was a B+ at best quarterback in San Diego, goes to Sean Payton in New Orleans and becomes this prolific. Like, look at Brees from like 08 to 14. Like, he was throwing for like ridiculous yardage. So I think the point is, anytime you have that like cohesion between a quarterback and that coordinated coach, it just really maximizes that talent. So I'm very excited, and I love what I've seen from week 1 to week 2 with Trevor. And when I say the prince that is promised, it's like this guy was the slam dunkest of all prospects, like the second, I think, highest rated prospect ever. And now to see him get better each week with the right offense and making guys like Christian Kirk a household name, I think this is a guy you want to get in on week 3. Maybe he's your number 2 quarterback. But, if you look at what Joe Burrow did in the back half of last year, I think we're going to see the same thing from Trevor this year. Very excited about that.
That's interesting.
Very excited.
Everyone in my family, everyone in any household near my house is talking about Trevor Lawrence. So that's definitely true.
You love that.
It couldn't happen to a better fan base, a better city. I mean, Jacksonville, one of the richest cultural destinations in the country. We think Jacksonville. We think the United States. And
we think great football. And I'll tell you, I went to Jacksonville once. And it was not memorable.
I was there, and I cannot believe
I agree.
This is wild. Okay, who's number 3 though? Let's keep this moving.
And here it is, man. This is a little chalky, but I don't think so. This weekend was great. It's not chalky. It is if you watch the games this weekend. This weekend was great because we saw 3 amazing come from behind victories, right? We saw the Jets down by 13 with 1:55 left. We saw the Cardinals down 23, 20-ish points heading into the fourth quarter. And then we saw Tua. And holy shit. If you watched like the Tua game, I look, I love my lefties. And I was a big Tua hater. Tua throws a ton of picks, and I always thought that.
Don't you wear glasses, right? You have bad eyesight at your core.
Yeah, I do.
And I'm pretty sure Tua's got an issue seeing as well.
Well, there it is. So lefties with stigmatisms.
Samoan Pat out there. Southern United States Samoan Pat.
There it is. So I think, when you look at I think he threw 3 or 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Like, I think he's going to quiet a lot of people. So Mike McDaniel, the first-year head coach, he's got the weapons between Waddle and Hill. And obviously, Marty.
He didn't get the healthy benches last year. They were like, well, he could definitely play. We like a fully healthy Jacoby Brissett.
And if Fitzpatrick, it's interesting to me that, once again, just like Trevor, the young quarterback with the right coach.
Flores last year. That was 2 years ago.
It was last year, man. Flores was.
I can't believe I got fired. I'm not even going to touch that. By the way, I'm wearing a John Lynch jersey. I've got a very severe cut over here. That's what I mean to say. I don't back the blue. All right? Don't back those guys.
All right.
What I'm saying is, Flores, maybe you were fired because you were trying to force Jacoby Brissett down football fan base's throats.
There was some really weird games. I think it was his rookie year where they would just take Tua out and put in like Fitzpatrick. It's like Tua was fine, but like you want the young kid to go through those growing experiences. And anyway,
you think like his dad just called the coaching staff and was like, if he messes up, you take that. Beat him.
Dude, I don't know. For those of you watching at home, there is a wild video on like ESPN did a story on Tua when he was at Bama, and like you basically got the impression that Tua's dad just beats the shit out of him if he had a bad game. It was like I was surprised ESPN aired that. So anyway, hopefully Tua's not getting hit this week. Yeah, it's wild.
Pretty messed up. Scouting report, scared of father. Okay,
that's all it takes.
Who's next? Because I think really quick to bring it back to the league. This isn't a general football podcast. You could go sit on your rump and watch NFL Network all day. We miss you, Kay Adam. But this is a fantasy podcast, and Dan, had a really rough week 1. The if you're carrying a backup quarterback who in week 1, Tua was like fine, right? He was okay. He wasn't like people aren't clamoring to pick up Tua after week 1. He holds on to him, drops Sky Moore, who
forgettable
could turn into something. Who knows? Week 1, it's not enough sample size and like a totally distributed Chiefs offense, and he holds on to Tua. And Tua just explodes.
Dude, a 6-touchdown game. Yeah, so cool.
I mean,
it's so
and he's
cool.
trying to package him with Amari Cooper. Classic Schwartz. Like, before people are even able to, like, let sink in that he's that good, he's already like, diminishing the package with Amari Cooper attached.
You know what? It's
Gotta send this.
Yeah, I got nothing. Like I said, Schwartz and I were on very different, and we play each other this weekend. But from a trade standpoint, from a roster building standpoint, we're getting to matchups soon. But anyway, just to kind of round out the top
Let's go
5.
number 2. We love Tua, but number 2, if I may, kind of speak one into existence here. And look, this guy's boom bust, but man, was he fun. And he kicked the week off in a very exciting way, and he's going to be very, very important to somebody in the league who's currently at the top. He's this guy's best receiver, Mike Williams of the Chargers.
Yeah, man.
I mean, we thought probably on that Thursday game in the first half, he had like 20 points in the first half.
It was awesome.
Silly.
It was very obvious the game plan was get 81 the ball. It was, dude, Mike Williams is so good. I'm
super fun.
I hope Mike Williams becomes continues to be the focal point, even with Keenan Allen back. Like, Keenan's great, but like Mike Williams is such a star.
Herbert can make the throws, assuming he doesn't, get like a rib-induced lawsuit brewing with the training staff over there in San Diego. But
San Diego.
I hope Herbert's fine.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, San Diego, dude.
I'll never forget. I'm a
dude.
Charger purist.
Never.
So I think, look,
San Diego for life.
I like the Mike Williams at number 4, and then so what do we have? And then number 5, gotta give credit.
Give us a tasty high performer. I mean, let's just talk about it.
No, I wanted to. I hate to say it, but I'll give it to young Nick Chubb. No, I'm not giving it to Amon-Ra. I'm giving it to Chubb. Dude, Chubb
who cost his team the win with his boneheaded scoring play, which Josh was probably like, oh man, look at that.
It was a nightmare for me as a Jets fan having a 30 burger dropped on me.
That gets a guy benched IRL. How could you say that?
How
could you say that? Amon-Ra is probably going to take 15 snaps at quarterback this coming week. We love that guy.
Amon-Ra's a good one.
This is the definition of a young guy. Nick Chubb, this is his 15th year.
It's
he's not good.
That, you know what? I'll give it to you. Honestly, Amon-Ra, you're right. Furious. No, Amon-Ra's good. He is he putting up 2 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns? He had a 35-point game.
He also had a 50-yard rush.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy.
You're right. That's an oversight. Good for Amon-Ra, man. Because he was a V-neck darling. I liked Amon-Ra, and then you look at the roster for the Lions, and you're like, they won a game. We had the Jaguars, the Lions. Look at this list. How fun is 2022 when we have a Jet, a Jaguar, and a Lion making the list? Huh? That's not too shabby. I like that. So, no, you're right. That's an oversight. I think Goff is good enough to support a fantasy star. He did it with the Rams. Whether not a star, but Brandon Cooks is good.
Did you look back at Goff's stats? You're like, what's Goff's high watermark? Touchdowns in this season. It's dog shit.
It's like 32, 30. No, he had dude. Look at his 2018 numbers.
I'm look this up. We'll use the internet really quick.
Dude, 2018, I'll put Goff's over-under touchdown number at 34. Goff threw 34 in 2018. 34 is my over-under.
You said 2018, 32. 19.
Oh, I had 12. Okay, dude.
12 interceptions.
That was a fun year because that's when he went to the Super Bowl.
He threw 21 stuff, so I'm not wrong. He threw 21. So I'm technically a super right. And that's when he was a Ram. That was his last year as a Ram.
Okay. So his 2019 or 2020. No, either way. Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra's good.
He's good, man. But, it sucks for a pervert. It sucks for Amon-Ra. Like, Amon-Ra's having an incredible story. Him and all his brothers have wacky names. He has a brother named Amon-Ra. Look it up.
Equanimeous.
His brother have the same name. It's crazy.
Shut up. Really?
Week 1 darling. Hey, look it up.
There's 2 Amon-Ra's.
Brother named like Amon-Ra. Can you imagine? Like you're like older, you're in the NFL, and your parents like we're naming your new brother Pat.
That would be a bummer. That would be a bummer. That would, especially with Equanimeous type names on the table. The Amon-Ra family just peaked.
I know. It's like pick anything else. Make it up.
Plenty of gods to choose from.
Going to come back, and like Amon-Ra to me is like Elijah Moore, polished, can play out of the slot, can play on the outside. He's not super big. You know, he could take a carry. He could take a handoff too because he's that slippery. He's coming. He's in motion. He's just a do-it-all type of player who will get usurped by a one-time Ohio State wide receiver, just like Elijah Moore is being displaced by Garrett Wilson. And I'm going way back to when Jameson pre-transfer, so scared of Garrett to speak to how good and great he is.
That wide receiver room was Chris Olave. It's so interesting to me to look at how these batch of positional players in college are now like ultra-level superstars. Like, to your point, Garrett, Jameson Williams, I know he hasn't played a snap, and Chris Olave, like that wide receiver room is literally just like 2-3 first-round talents all in that wide receiver room. It's like Mac Jones, Justin Herbert.
10, 11, 12, right? Draft pick, 10, 11, 12, literally in order?
It may have – that sounds right.
Garrett was 10.
I know Garrett was
11, and 12 was Jameson.
There you go. Right? So it's crazy to me when you have – and the other one is the Mac Jones, Jalen, and Tua. Like, it's just so interesting. And obviously the LSU wide receiver room of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
Let me ask you this.
What do you got?
Last year, and this is going to be our next segment here, we were teasing out the young guns, and I want to talk about this maybe less as a ranking and more as like, is this here to stay? Jamar Chase was like a top 3 wide receiver last year. And that doesn't often happen, but you're already seeing like Breece Hall looks awesome. Travis Etienne can catch a million passes.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson already had a huge day. Drake London had a huge day. Olave drew 13 targets last game. Traylon Burks is catching some football. Like, there's other guys just doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty goddamn exciting. Jahan Dodson's doing things.
So here's my take.
Tons of people are doing things.
So here's my take.
So why are all these rookies doing these things?
So here it is. Ready? I would say, it's twofold. It's like 30% based on just how truly good they are. The other 70% is, I believe, and we can get into this too, very game plan focused. Like, if you look at what teams are doing, it's kind of, it's like very, like, you have a small amount of information to base a game plan off of, right? The Colts have Jonathan Taylor, so take him away. You know, the teams have X, Y, and Z players. So a lot of these guys don't have game film on them yet. So you're like, one, he's talented, and two, teams don't know how to scheme to stop them. So I think that's why these week 2 rookies are like really good. Like when you look at NFL game plans, it's like, we know this guy runs a 10-yard out super well. So what do? You make him run every other route. I don't think there's enough book of information out there for these rookies for teams to scheme against them. So, like I said, I think it's partially because, Drake London is fucking awesome. He's like Brandon Marshall. And, Garrett Wilson obviously is a stud. He's a way more polished route runner than I thought, and you have a lot of these younger players who are super prolific early on. But I think as the tape gets expanded on them, people will be able to scheme a little bit better. So I think if you're banking on a 30-point, Garrett Wilson 26-point day, I think he's capable of it, but I don't think it's something that'll be sustainable for the next 16 weeks.
So what was special about Jamar? Was it just that him and Burrow had a connection, that he's that good, that their scheme was that dedicated to him? I mean, why couldn't somebody – like, is Jamar that good?
I believe yes.
That much better than anybody else?
I really think like Jamar Chase is like generationally talented. I think he's similar to Odell Beckham, like route running, speed, and the nice thing too is when you watch him and Burrow throw. Like, Burrow played with him in college. Like, he's throwing the ball before Jamar. Yeah. Like, that touchdown he had against the Steelers to send it to overtime, which should have won the game. He's throwing the ball before Chase even breaks. Like, you have anticipation, you have talent, you have chemistry like that. It really helps with connections. So I would, to your point, Jamar Chase is one of I don't know, a million, whatever. There is not many built like Jamar Chase. To me, he's very Odell Beckham.
London, coming out of your rookie year and then like never looking back, basically. Like you're instantly a superstar.
Instantly,
second, or like you're part of the game plan.
Instantly.
Cool. So can Drake London, can Breece Can
So
Garrett become like superstar rookies where it's like, yeah, they'll have down games because you get keyed on, but you match up a defender against the one-on-one and the quarterback knows to find them, and yeah, okay, they're going to be a double-digit scorer every week or better.
So I think the Jamar Chase is a good example because they still have T. Higgins and Joe Mixon, where like you got to kind of pick your poison, right? And Joe is smart enough to look at the defense and say, okay, whatever, safety's playing over top. I have these other two guys, so they can beat you a variety of different ways. Where the Falcons, but they have Kyle Pitts, but I still think they're pretty limited offensively. So the
Marcus Mariota's a collegiate legend. Okay,
I'm not I'm not here to besmirch Marcus. You know I'm a Marcus guy, but I think
on the A, baby, Marcus in the A. Anyway.
No, I just think you look at those teams that are picking at those premium picks for those better players, they have a lesser roster around them. So I think it's interesting. The Falcons' offense is a good example. To your point, it's like, yeah, you suffer for years to accumulate these picks, but it was interesting that the Bengals right away chose to address skill positions like pretty frequently, like second-round pick on T. Higgins, second-round pick on Mixon, first on Chase, first on Burrow. Like those are 4 premium picks within a 5-year span to give you superstars. So anyway, I just think Drake London is a good example. He's got Kyle Pitts. Teams seem to be scheming towards Pitts, which leaves some coverage towards Drake.
Pitts was relatively butt cheek last year, though. I mean, like Pitts was like okay.
Pitts is
some days.
Dude,
but
Pitts
I mean,
was
like
sick.
you're not like we're looking at Pitts' year last year, like ooh, Jamar Chase. Like they kind of wish.
Right.
Atlanta was like, ooh, we could take Jamar Chase there at 4.
I know
that's crazy when you look back.
I agree. I think Pitts is, Bocker's got him, and I like Bocker's team, and I think.
And look at where Bocker's at. His team stinks. And by the way, we do need to get into this matchups of the week before we get into waivers. But why don't you give me a closing salvo on why Garrett Wilson's as good as Jamar Chase in performance? Because of how strong the Jets' weaponry is, the talent of weapons that they put. I mean, look, Corey Davis, honestly, if he's your third, he's like would you rather have Corey Davis or Tim Patrick? In
I agree.
IRL, right?
No, I think if you're a fan of the pod, I had a nice little A/B comparison for Elijah last week, and I still truly. It's exciting for me as a Jets fan because, like Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, and to your point, Corey Davis, you could do a lot worse. Corey's the number 2 on most teams, and look, I think when I look at the Jets team, it's kind of fun to just think like, obviously, we haven't had a September win, we haven't been 500 in a long time, but to see a young rookie carry the offensive production and knowing we have Elijah Moore as well. It seems like, it's going to be whose ever week is I really think it's going to be whoever gets the coverage, right? Like if it's a game plan for Wilson, it's going to be Elijah.
I know you're not trying to talk into existence that Garrett's going to do it every week because that's scary to bet and it doesn't come true. But it's going to come true, and I hope that
you're a Garrett Wilson. Do our listeners know that you're a Garrett Wilson owner?
So as fate would have it, I'm actually a Garrett Wilson owner. A governor of Garrett Wilson's fantasy services. But again, you're welcome, Robin Dima, for the segment. Well, let's move on to matchups because I think matchups are where the league is made, right?
I agree.
We play against another team, and each week one of those teams wins. We never had a tie, I don't think.
We had one tie between me and Noah in 2018.
Really?
It was wild, dude. Odell Beckham, I'll never forget this. It was, I promise you, Odell caught a 2-point conversion against the Falcons on Monday night when he was a Giant and we tied. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, you know what? Before we get into matchups, I would just like to say, congratulations to our friend and newest league member, Nicholas Bocker Conlon, on his pending nuptials, because as fate would have it, he's getting married this Sunday. And, obviously, we love Bach and we love Helen and we're very excited. But we couldn't be more disappointed for a Sunday wedding. Like, we may just be watching on our phones. We may, as a groomsman in this thing, I may be worried about that as Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady is at the 4:30 spot. So
I'm very excited. It's basically no excuses. We have to get together for football.
That's actually a better way to look at
You
it.
know?
That's a better way to
Think
look
about
at it.
Like we were being forced to
To
congregate,
congregate, to celebrate their love,
to watch
but
football.
also
And our wives have to come.
that's
Our
true.
girlfriends have to come. Our children have to be watched elsewhere. So I actually think it's kind of a perfect storm. Also, it's week 3. It's like we all know a little bit enough about our teams. No one is totally down the dumps. But this is like week 1. False confidence. No one's really feeling great. We're all just talking shit. Week 5. Some people know that they're really bad.
Yeah, some people are checked out. No, that's a good point. You're looking at it the right way. We're all together.
Like perfect. Week 3 is like everybody should be feeling good because everybody has had a tale of 2 weeks.
And we also have a league full of
fodder.
We also have a league full of 1-1 guys. It's tremendous, the parity. It's a 2-0 team, an 0-2 team, and
honestly, a
1-1s.
league full of romantic guys. It's a wedding, goddammit.
That's true. We love love.
It's all about love.
We'll fix that. We'll fix that in the editing process. Yeah, we're very excited on Sunday.
All right, so
we'll kick it off with Bocker and Greg. We'll kick it off with Bocker and Greg.
Bocker's going up against
Greg.
I'm just going to tee this up right here.
Yeah, man.
So Bocker is matching up this week against Greg.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
We're talking about the earliest guy in this league to get married, Greg. Going up against the guy who's getting married this week. You see his haircut? Not for Greg. It's for Bocker.
It's for Bocker's wedding.
Watch out.
It's a fresh cut.
But let's talk about the teams.
Yeah. I'm excited, man.
Greg's team. Who's Brady throwing to?
Yeah. So what I'll say for Greg is I think, Miles Sanders is having a way better season than I thought in 2 games, and I like him going against the Washington defense. Rashad Bateman had a monster catch last week. I think Rashad's a really exciting talent. Michael Thomas.
I like Miles Sanders getting 10 points last week, and people were like, I am impressed.
You know what? I had Miles.
That's how shitty we feel about Miles.
Yeah, that's a good point. Look, I think he was a guy no one was excited about rostering, and here he is putting up double digits. 2 weeks in a row, right? And then obviously
week 1, and then that's exactly.
Yeah. So
big week 1.
Shout out to him. And then
who's his best player? Okay, so is Sanders his best player right now?
Saquon, man. I think it's got to be Saquon. And we all know Micah Parsons is an absolute unit on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Greg is
Michael Thomas, 20 points in week 1, 15.5 in week 2. Michael Thomas drawing 9 and 8 targets. Not a lot of yardage from Jameis, but 3 touchdowns already.
I didn't realize those were Michael Thomas. Dude, I didn't realize Michael Thomas was all the way back like that. That's double digits in both games. Good for Mike. And then Allen Robinson's coming up. You know what? Greg's got a great team in October. Honestly, if Saquon continues and he gets double digits from Miles, Rashad Bateman's
in October.
Yeah, I think so. I think Rashad Bateman is a great young player. Michael Thomas is getting healthier, and Terry is a good player.
Bateman does look good. Bateman's getting a lot of targets.
Bateman's awesome, dude.
And then 12.9 and 18.8. Great.
And a 13 burger from A-Rob last week. So I think Greg's got –
He could get Pittman back. Pittman is questionable, not out.
If
he's able to play.
And Dobbins. So Greg –
he returned to practice today. Pittman did. So we're probably going to see Allen Robinson riding the pine again. But Greg had just shown up to Marty's apartment on Sunday – but I'm like, I can't fucking believe you started Allen Robinson.
Touchy. He scored. He had a night, dude. Allen.
He literally scored like 60 seconds within that
statement.
Put in the air. I was like, I don't know, you idiot. And
That's
then he scored. So what do I know? He's a champion, and I'm not. So
Greg's got 3. Greg is the only 3-banner haver in the league. So
let's quickly talk about Greg's depth for a second because I think it's important. Ayuk. Upgrade that guy.
With Jimmy back.
Garoppolo is the quarterback for the rest of the season. That's really nice depth. I mean, look, he's got guys who, if they were on the waivers right now, would be, we'll talk about this, the most desirable guys. Jahan Dotson, another week is looking like pretty feisty. Ayuk with Garoppolo. Goddard, if he wasn't owned for some reason in our league, and he had a great week. So Greg's team is really deep.
I like Greg's team.
But he doesn't have,
a superstar.
That star player. Except, I guess, if Pittman is a reliable top 10 wide receiver, that's like a low-end star.
I'm looking at the numbers here. Dallas Goddard, Some teams would start him. Dotson is back-to-back double digits. Ayuk gets an upgrade.
I would start these guys.
Yeah.
You would start these guys.
Yeah, Greg's got a good team. So Greg's got a good team.
But it's unfortunate we only have so many roster spots, and so many of them have to go to Penn State guys. But do you think that this team, especially led by a Tom Brady, throwing to a Cole Beasley, which we will get to, Cole Beasley, Russell Gage, who's no good, been rostered since the draft on Marty's team, and Rashad Perriman having a vintage stretch run game from like 2 years ago when Perriman was like insane for the past the final 5 games. Do you think that Brady and the poo-poo platter of like, I can't believe that guy scored 15, and then running backs are kind of 10-point guys, do you think they can compete against the vaunted Jamar Josh combo, and then the slot that Bocker puts in between there, including the Packers running back?
So
Bocker's an interesting team. This is his wedding day.
If we want to go right into Bocker's team, I got a love letter written. So I'll say this: I think Greg's team is better than most people think. I think if Greg is willing to get aggressive in the trade market, he can probably move a Goddard and a Dotson, or he can probably go 2 for 1.
For Goddard.
Well, what I'm trying to say is he can probably move 2 of his guys for that superstar that he needs. So I'm not as down on Greg as most. I think it's a tough week for Brady. Especially good Packers defense. It's in Tampa, which helps, but I think Greg could probably look for some help on the wire. But
how about this? I mean, because you're talking about trading bench guys. That's what we all, as the traders, want. Here, take the bench guy.
I think
you can take somebody like Sanders and Bateman and do a big upgrade.
Yeah, maybe.
Take Sanders who's performing. Take Bateman who's exciting, and give me Amon-Ra. Give me somebody who's going to regress. Give me somebody who's awesome. Let me upgrade just a touch.
Like I said, if Greg can be 500 by the end of the month, I think he's got a great team heading forward. I do. I think Allen Robinson in a new offense, Michael Thomas, it's impressive. Michael Pittman, that's a sneaky, and Bateman, that's a very sneaky.
You mean this weekend?
Yeah, I'm a little thrown off by the dates.
The 1st of October. Do some calendar math, Pat.
There you go. If he can be 2-2 by the time, whenever that is, whenever week 4 ends, if Greg's 2-2, I think he's pretty dangerous. But.
Well, and I'll also say, just for posterity, he is projected to lose with his current starting lineup. ESPN doesn't like him. Like a lot of that is Tom Brady.
Yeah,
Tom.
Tom.
A little bit depressed versus where he was.
Yeah, Tom.
But I mean, let's talk about Bocker. I think Bocker, to me, because I like those young guys, I like those youthful firearms. He's got Jamar, he's got Olave, he's got Pitts, and a very dynamic.
Yeah.
Look, some of those guys might not be able to drink.
So
they enter a little bit older.
I did a little research on Bocker's team, and what I think Bocker has going for him is Josh motherfucking Allen, who is literally, I don't know if any player.
Hell of a player.
I've never seen a guy kind of back-to-back 37s, and like when you watch him play, like if the game was.
Took him out in the third quarter.
I know if the games are longer, he could go for like 50 points. Like literally, like he.
In the fourth quarter, the game's their 4-string running back, just like whatever, just don't get hurt. No one else can get hurt. Crazy. He's dominant.
So he has right now by far and away the best player in the league. And then I did research on the Packers running backs. So while unorthodox, would you let's call it a blind resume? Would you take 2 running backs who average 14 and 18? If I said your RB1 had 14, your RB2 had 14, and the next week your RB1 had 18 and your RB2 had 18, would you be happy with those numbers?
I would love that.
Because that's exactly what the Packers backfield's doing.
But can I play devil's advocate for a second?
I'll allow it.
Those numbers, those averages in 2 weeks include 2 single-digit games. Aaron Jones had 9 points in week 1, followed up by a prodigious 30.5. I think the leading running back day for the whole week 2. And then in week 2, A.J. Dillon, who, let's go deeper with the stat trick. A.J. Dillon had more touches than Aaron Jones.
Yeah, look.
7.2.
What I'm trying to say is one booms, the other is not busting, but in an almost 10. Not quite busting, but literally,
if you want both guys to bust like every time.
I would be very happy, especially with the way Bocker's team is built, to have 2 running backs averaging 15-ish a week, right? You're getting 30 from 2 running backs. You're getting an MVP quarterback. You're getting Jamar Chase. You're getting upside with Olave, and you're getting Pitts, who's going to go off. And then you have the RB1 in the Niners offense. I think it's kind of an unorthodox way to do it. But like I said, if I would love 2 running backs to give me 15 each, and Bocker's got that with Dylan and.
We talked about with your team last week. You have Justin Jefferson. You have built-in points. Not last week, but you normally have built-in point scoring potential, so you can feel better about starting a guy who's like, like a Kyle Pitts, who like hasn't really shown anything. You're like, but he could though. He's really good, so I'm gonna put this guy in my lineup, even though like him and Olave, I think Pitts has not looked good. Olave had 13 targets, caught like 5 balls. So look, he's got Jamar Chase, he's got Josh Allen, he's got, to your point, in aggregate, 2 great running backs with the Packers that any of us would start, right?
Yeah.
I like Bocker's team this week.
I do as well. It's his wedding day. I think they're going to run They're going to run a shit ton against the Buccaneers, and I like Jamar Chase bounce back game against the Jets. I think him and Sauce will be a very fun matchup. But I love Sauce, but Jamar Chase is the best. I would say the best receiver.
Tampa Bay, traditionally stout against the run, and you've got 2 running backs going against them on Bocker's team. You've got Jeff Wilson Jr. running against Denver, which, while they have been in absolute disarray, they have actually, from a defensive side.
Yeah, on defense, they look great. On defense, they're a strong defensive team. No, I think that's what's keeping you relevant.
If you're banking on, again, I think it's going to be Jamar and Josh. He lives and dies by those 2 guys both having banner weeks every week, but it's not like that's a bad thing. They're both like the best of their position.
Exactly. I'll take what I believe will be the QB and RB running back or wide receiver ones. So I like Bocker this week on his wedding day against Greg, and unfortunately Greg would be 0-3. But I don't know. I like what Bocker's adding to the league. I think it's a different way to look at it, but he knows fantasy.
It's a quiet confidence. It's a man who knows what he wants in a team makeup, goes out and executes. First pick of the draft.
Okay.
A.J. Dillon.
Okay.
That's right.
First nomination.
He started.
First nomination secured.
First pick. We all wanted him. We're all getting those alerts. Don't act like you weren't getting those alerts. Let's move on to 2 commanding teams. We're talking about the reigning champion, Derek Houdat. Good. Nick Lachey De La Rosa versus Josh, Chad, Donnie Blake, Rockwell, Pasternak, Kirk's coming versus Mr. Come Limited, Let's Ride. Yeah. These teams are actually a little bit closer than you think.
Dude, Mr. Come Limited, Let's Ride is so good.
Mr. Come Limited, Let's Ride. But does Josh, for all intents and purposes, outside of my team, have the best running back room so far in the league? And I say this because Swift and Chubb have gone 2 weeks straight performing. There's been no the game script was another way. It's like both guys were awesome. So Josh right now, let's remove the rest of his team from view, but Swift and Chubb.
I agree.
I'm swiftly chubbing thinking about these guys.
Nice. I said I gave both top 10 ranks. Obviously, it was a great Chubb day. Chubb had a tough week 1. Touchdowns went to Kareem, but a 30-burger against the Jets. And then Swift, I think, don't quote me, I think Swift only had 7 touches, but he had like a really prolific day with limited numbers. Yeah, he had 5 rushes and 2 catches. Yeah, he had 7 touches.
7 with 7 touches.
On 7 touches. So
insane.
That's awesome, man. I think
a little concerning though, to be honest. You don't get that touchdown here. Well, 9 points still. Look,
it's a good day. Especially when he was questionable. He was questionable with potentially limited workload. But I think Debo for Josh is an upgrade with Jimmy, right? He doesn't have to worry about any type of vulturing from Trey Lance, and Adam Thielen will be relevant as long as Kirk's not playing on Monday night, and Judy's questionable, so I think it helps Sutton. So
I think Adam Thielen's back's against the wall. 5.1, 7.1.
Yeah. I agree.
3.2.
I agree.
Adam Thielen is maybe somebody. Look, Josh's whole sub running back situation is pretty spooky, I think.
Yeah, he's not a deep team.
Myers, everyone's like the focal point of the offense. Got 13 targets, 9 catches for 95 yards last week, at 8.2 in week 1. He's certainly like a guy.
Yeah.
But
no, I think Josh's team is running back top heavy. I think Debo's gonna, like I said, I had Debo last year with Jimmy. He's going to be great. I expect Josh to be active on the wire tomorrow. And
here's a take.
Mm-hmm.
What if Josh cashes in? He says, hey, DeAndre Swift, hey, Schwartz, you're offering Tua and Amari. How about you throw in one of your fucking geezer running backs? Why don't you throw the worst one? Like, give me one of your running back guys. I mean, Kirk Cousins is well in. He's like the best quarterback, too. He's like the 13th best quarterback in the league. And he doesn't have a lot of depth on the bench. Like, Tyler Boyd's not going to suddenly become amazing. Neither is A.J. Green. Rex Burkhead is already droppable. Robbie Anderson, Blake, right? So, like, you know, this guy's going to be massaging the waivers, deep tissuing the waivers every single week.
Yeah, Josh has a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of work to do depth-wise. But I would say as far as, like, a top-heavy roster, I think he's got now, like, I'll say it again, with Jimmy – he's probably got a top 10 guy with Debo. He's got 2 top 10 running backs. I think Cortland is.
You think Debo's a top 10 wide receiver?
Sorry, yeah. He was wide receiver 2 last year, and now with Jimmy, nothing changes.
I know he was.
It's the same offense as last year. I think he's going to be good.
He wasn't really getting like his value later in the season was not because he was a virtuoso pass catcher. That was like earlier in the season. And then later in the season, he like really took off as a consistent, like fed runner. And he's already kind of doing that.
Yeah.
But, like to score and to run for 50 plus yards each week and just eclipse like 10, 11 points, it is kind of concerning. And look, I think Jimmy G's pretty good. But
like I said, now the offense goes back to what it was last year. And whether he's running the ball or he's catching the ball, I think Debo's going to be very. Like I said, he was the wide receiver 2 last year, and the offense is going to be the same. And now with Jimmy, nothing changes from last year. So I think
Cortland Sutton looked pretty good last week. Cortland Sutton's probably, if you think about it, like from a pass cut perspective, he's probably going to get the most like passes thrown his way in a given week.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little tricky with that offense still because, like I said on Sunday, it's like, dude, they didn't look. It just seems like it's taking a longer time for them to connect. So I think
there's like weird stuff going on. There's like videos of Russell Wilson on the side being like, "It's pass."
I saw that one. Yeah.
And like I'm like, what is like?
No, it was it's weird. It's a weird dynamic in Denver right now. But look, like I said, I'm optimistic on Josh's team now.
Can get fired mid-season in his first year. He looks like a real bumbling boob.
I would say there's a 0% chance they fire a coach mid-season first year. Yeah,
in his first year. He did stuff that's like, I get the pressure. You're on the sideline. You're head coaching. Like, man, 2 games straight. Some of the dumbest stuff. Front page, like, this is dumb. We won the game. It's like, this guy should be fired. We won the game. Anyway, I want to talk about that.
No, it's a frustrating offense right now, but I think they'll click. But no, I think, look, I like Josh's team better than a week ago. And yeah, but
the team I like better than Josh's team, though,
is it Derek's?
It's Derek's team because Derek has so many lovable guys, top to bottom. Like I'm looking at who he's starting this week. Jalen Hurts is incredible. His rushing touchdowns were like so gritty last week.
He looked great.
He's just like
he looked
great.
A
super high floor. He looks super fun to root for. Go to your point. The Broncos will figure it out. Like what's missing? We're giving Javonte. Right. This guy's incredible. Javonte Williams needs more touch. He's very good.
Yes. If I'm running that offense, Melvin Gordon is maybe getting 3 snaps. Like Javonte is getting every snap, everything.
Melvin gets like 12 carries a game in like high-level situations, but that'll change. James Robinson's amazing still, though he's had a really nice start, but I could see them like, continuing into the season being like mediocre. Dropping some games. There's a Jaguar.
Yeah, he owns 2 Jaguars.
He owns 2 Jaguars. At the end, like, let's get you more involved. Let's get you, like, going because you're our first-round pick last year. But for now, James Robinson looks like the same undrafted beast.
He's a good player.
Who once picked up years ago.
Yeah, I like
Kirk, Jaguar heavy. Double Jaguars here. This is your team. You should tell him to pick up Trevor Lawrence.
That would be tripling down. But no, look, he's made Christian Kirk, or he being my boy Trev. Trev's made him good, man. 14 and 22, 23 is nice. I mean, Devontae Adams had a softer week last week, and T. Higgins had a nice touchy. which kept him afloat.
Yeah,
I liked
with
it.
that. I didn't watch the Raiders game. Like Devontae finished with like 3 catches.
Yeah,
What
it was
happened?
on
What
red
happened?
zone. I didn't see a lot of it either. I know he had like a weird rush that like was like a reverse pass that didn't work, and he maybe had a like a minus 10 yard rushing. But it just week in week out getting him the kind of targets he got week one. It's just
And he has T. Higgins.
Yeah.
And he has Deontay Johnson. And he has Kareem Hunt, can't even draw a start. And he has Raheem Mostert. I mean, this guy's who I drafted. Or Dak. Great move. Yeah, good team, man.
Yeah, I like Rick's team.
I don't know why it's the Colts defense. We'll probably see him on the waivers tomorrow morning, which we'll get to. Which defense are we going to see on the waivers first? Colts.
Yeah, I would say Colts seem pretty droppable at this point. How do their numbers look?
Also, I watched a lot of the Titans game. I think he has Robert Woods, who a lot of people are like, oh, sneaky, get Woods, number one guy. I don't know what's going on there. Like, weren't they the number ones? They were in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah, they were the one seed in the AFC. Yeah, they were
they one seed last year, right?
Yeah, that team
What's going on?
I don't have that answer. I thought they were a little overrated last year.
Tannehill looks horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Tannehill looks terrible. They put him in Malik Willis. He looked pretty bad, but at least he was like not just like looking at the defenders. He was like coming towards them, just allowing himself to get sacked or stripped or something. It was confusing.
Yeah, they also caught in a buzzsaw with the Bills home opener. But yeah, no, I think a tough loss to the Giants, and now that they're definitely against it. I like Vrabel as a coach, so I think they can bounce back this week. I really do. So
he had that nice. What was it? A Rams? What was it? The Texans? Where was he? He was like a coach on Hard Knocks. There's like a guy.
Vrabel?
A sub guy.
Yeah. I believe, he was a Texans. Yeah, I think he was either the linebacker coach or the defensive coordinator. But yeah, he was a Texans.
Him and
Brian Cushing.
Cushing.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a wild one.
I mean, I think I'm even like looking at the benches. It's like Kareem Hunt is like the perfect Kenyon Drake. If you were like, oh, if Kenyon Drake could only like get these types of touches, and then like Nyheim Hines is a great handcuff to have. Raheem Mostert. Burkhead's like everyone on Josh's bench except for I guess Tyler Boyd or I guess Robbie Anderson could just be dropped, and we would never hear from them again. They wouldn't be picked up for years. But look, go Derek! Happy wedding this weekend, Derek! It's your wedding day, so congrats and really rooting for you. Let's move on to another team here. Let's move on to another matchup and kind of talk about why it's interesting, why we should care. Let's talk about the only 2-0 team we have. Mr. Karma, Mr. Hollywood, Bob Gotti, which I thought about the other day because something about Hulu came up through our chat. He goes by Robert Gotti. He's in entertainment. And people have, sometimes silly names in entertainment. I think that Bob Gotti, it just fills up the back of your mouth. Bob Gotti, it just explodes out.
Bob Gotti sounds great. I've only known him as Rob.
Bob Gotti.
But Bob Gotti cuts to the chase. Maybe Rob, he has like an alter ego. Maybe he's Rob Gotti to his friends, but he's Bob Gotti in the office.
It's for you. Who is it? It's Bob Gotti.
Bob fucking Gotti.
Something to think about potentially for him. But
I like that.
He's got it. Look, he's 2-0. 2-0 is better than everybody else.
He sure is.
So the cheese stands alone here, and let's talk about the positives. Mike Williams, right? That's super fun. Though I guess do we know what's going on with Herbert yet? Is he gonna play
I would bet Herbert play. I mean, if Herbert's going to finish the game, he's going to play next week. I would say Herbert's going to play. So even if it's Chase Daniels, he's gonna get targets.
Heavy. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like Rob's team actually.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, I like Mike Williams. And honestly, Brees looks great because I was tuning into as much Jets as I could, and man. Brees, he looks good.
Yeah, Rob's. It's funny because last year Rob's team was the ultimate point-getting team, but caught everyone on their best week, right? So it was like he'd be putting up 140, and then someone else would put up 145, and never score that again.
And now it's the opposite.
Exactly. So I always root for Rob. I think his team. I'm an anti-Kyler guy. He's got the Rams. He will. I would bet the Rams whatever the spread is this week. I like McCaffrey on a bounce back. Zeke is. I don't know what to make of Zeke. And
I mean,
Yeah.
Zeke's put up 5.6 points, identical point totals in back-to-back weeks. Darrell Henderson had fewer carries than Cam Akers and no catches. I mean, it's Breeze territory, I think.
I think,
squad, and it's almost like embrace it.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I think by another week, Brees will probably be his RB3 and Zeke will be on the bench, which is just like crazy to think about the life cycle of a running back now. Like,
it is weird, but he's his RB2. I mean, honestly, do you think Darrell Henderson is going to be the RB1 this week? I mean, they were giving Cam Akers a ton of touches. He didn't do much with them, but Darrell Henderson would have had an atrocious day had he not had like a goal line carry, which, goal line's kind of like, it's a privilege to get the ball at the goal line, right? And Darrell's the one coming in prepared for the season. And Brandon Cooks doesn't look like 2 years ago he was like surprising on the Texans, right? It was like, wow, Cooks is still good.
Cooks still got it. He's still got it. Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, what's Cooksy been up to? 11-7. So you'll take that.
Yeah, there's nothing incredibly flashy about Gotti's team, except for Mike Williams, of course. But yeah, I think, like I said, last year he was on the short end of it, but this year he's a little fortunate. But we'll see this week because he's going to play a very good Marty team,
Totally. And also, much ballyhooed Kyler. People are shitting on Kyler. Granted, an OT-aided point total last week, but 24.5, 27.8. Every team in the league will be like, yeah, sure.
I'll take that.
You're going to guarantee that for my quarterback? Yes, I will take that.
I will fade Kyler this week. I think he got scrub time against the blowout against the Chiefs, and then he played an AFC team that doesn't prep for him against the Raiders.
But hold on a second. You've got Phoenix, right? They're classic little brother to LA. Like, they're all the Phoenix guys are saying, no, it's warm weather here too, baby. What? I'll drive over to LA. Who gives a shit, Little brother syndrome. You see Devin Booker, Chris Paul. They're not the Lakers. Phoenix, different spot. You think he's going to come motivated against these Rams who just won? Slow-ass quarterback Matt Stafford. I think Kyler's actually going to have a pretty good game. Who else I think is having a good game? Let's get to this in the waivers. Greg Dortch, but we'll get to that. But look, this week, we haven't even gotten to Marty's team, but Christian better show up because without him, Is it a boom Mike Williams week or not? It's otherwise. Not a lot cooking here.
Yeah, there's not a lot that impresses me this week about Gotti's team, but with the exception of Mike Williams. But the last 2 weeks I could have said that, and here he is at 2-0. But I do like Gotti's team this week. I think Mahomes has got a long week. What's that?
I don't like a lot about Gotti's team, but I feel like Gotti's team this week. He's a people pleaser. Let's talk about Marty's team. Marty's team, to me, is one of the most star name laden teams from guys that you know. You talk about Young Bucks, he doesn't have them. These guys are known names: Kittle, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, David Montgomery, Edwards-Helaire, Fournette, Mahomes. That's who he's starting right now. He's projected to win.
I think after Tyreek's week last week, Tyreek's pretty awesome. We weren't sure what to make of him on a new team, but Mike McDaniels is smart enough to scheme him open, and Tua's good enough to get him the ball. Mahomes is great. Mahomes has a long week to prep. They had the Thursday game. Now he's playing Indy, who sucks apparently.
To just slice up Indianapolis.
That'll be a lot of fun for him. And then Montgomery's decent. He gets Keenan Allen back, and now he gets George Kittle with Jimmy G. So I like Marty big this week.
I game too.
I think this may be Marty's week as the high scorer. So I like a lot of what he's got. I mean, he's got the double up between Mahomes and Helaire, but I think Fournette's due for a touchdown in a hard-fought game against Green Bay. And like I said, Tyreek is looking like the steal of the draft at $36. So I like a lot of Marty's matchups this week. So I think we're looking at these two teams being 2-1. When we do the pod this time next week.
Keenan Allen is a huge question mark. Reported today that he's, quote, got a shot to play in Sunday's game. He was a limited participant today.
If not, he's got Elijah Moore.
Depending on what happens.
He's got Elijah Moore.
5 and 7 consecutive weeks, and because of your boy, he seems like a very talented, irrelevant fantasy player.
Yeah.
And he's already starting 3 running backs. Look, I would fade Leonard Fournette this week, personally. Maybe not. Maybe not because Brady's not going to have these poor route running, super depth, 6-string receivers running around. He's going to dump off the Fournette 14 times, like you enjoyed last year. So I like Marty's team this week because I don't believe in Rob's team, but let me just throw in a little grenade here. What if Zeke has an amazing week? Used to be a top 5 pick perennial.
I haven't seen anything out of Zeke that would inspire confidence. Like, he's gotten what? How many touches did he get the last 2 weeks? Like, I mean, he got 24. He got 15
carries last week.
Okay, 25
1
total.
reception. Week 1, he had 10 carries for 52 yards, 5.2 average. I mean, he didn't have much going on. I mean, they're just like a pretty low ceiling team, and you and I both think CD's overrated. They just don't have a ton going on. Their best offensive line is hurt, so fade the Cowboys. He's old. Start Breece Hall. He's good. The Jets defense looks like it kind of stinks, so their offense is going to be doing lots of fun stuff all year.
Yeah, we may have a very a shootout team. So yeah, you want to get a part of that offense, I guess, because they'll be throwing a catch up.
Joe Flacco. I'm calling that this is for Marty. And I'm not just calling it the projections. I just like Marty's team a little better. Let's talk about one guy's a doctor, one guy's an insurance adjuster. So they're at odds. Insurance guys and doctors. Well, actually, they might be in bed together. Not from an environmental context, but they like each other. Insurance and the docs. Let's talk about this matchup. And a Purvis team went from being very disastrous week 1 to having an unbelievable week 2, and a very noble week 2. It's I don't want the high points. I just want to win. Well, my guys have fun. Unbelievable character on this guy. He's the doctor. And then Ted, his team underwhelming from I think a lot of the preseason pub, but they're both 1-1. So who knows and who gives a shit? Why don't you give me a take on the team that most inspires you, that most speaks to you in this matchup?
I like a Purvis team. I've said it before. I really think Justin Herbert is carrying a lot of the this is a close one, man, because I think Derrick Henry is just too good to not be productive. Justin Herbert, I think, will play, and if he gets Keenan,
weirdly bad.
Yeah, I know it's hard, man, because
they were just okay, 15 yards on 3rd down. Derrick.
He did it in the past. No, it's hard. I'm not ready to give up on Derrick Henry. Cam Akers had a lovely bounce back. If Jared Judy's healthy, I like the matchup against San Fran. And then look, he's got Stephon Diggs.
Jared Judy, by the way, just constantly crumpling to the ground in pain. We need to find a tough-bodied wide receiver. He's kind of got those little kind of legs that stick out when he runs. I just want a thick-bodied wide receiver.
Well, you got that with Cortland. You can't get both. You can't get both, man. You can't have 2 thick boys.
Another guy, Hamler's hurt. We got our 4th-round pick, Montrell Washington, the punt and kick returner who Hackett didn't even send out on the 1 punt return. He's like, all right, guys, I guess we're going to try to return this punt. Oh, shit, Montrell's on the bench. Hackett should just get fired. Hackett should get subpoenaed. He should be interviewed by the police for what's going on. They don't like what's going on. But let's talk about this. Herbert, I think, he's right there. If you're thinking Hurts, Lamar, Mahomes on a good day, and then Herbert. Oh, and Allen. Allen's in a tier of his own. But those 5 are kind of the guy.
Yeah,
missing somebody completely.
I like Justin Herbert. He's got Jacksonville coming. I like that to be the most fun game of the weekend. Jacksonville and Chargers. I think, coming from Florida to the West Coast and Herbert being at home, once again, like Mahomes having a longer time to prep, having that 10-day prep. I think he'll be healthy. I think Keenan goes. I think Justin will be a lot of fun.
Eckler week, though, because he's looking downfield and he's like, ouch, dink and dunk.
Maybe.
Mike Williams.
Maybe, but I also think, Stephon Diggs had a 38-point game. Stephon Diggs might be the diamond, not in the rough, but the guy who was outside the top 3 we're not sure of how Hill and Devontae Adams were going to look on new teams, but we had Stephon Diggs as kind of those were the three outside Jefferson, Kupp, and Chase, but Stephon Diggs looks to be the best of all of them. So between him,
I just want to say, the Purvis team right now has the number 7 quarterback, the number 1 wide receiver so far, the number 3 wide receiver so far in Amon-Ra, and the rest are just a hodgepodge of injured guys, question marks, injury replacements, and Derrick Henry.
I'll be so interested to see if he can keep DeAndre Hopkins the entirety of his suspension. Because what is he, 6 games? So if his roster looks good 3 weeks in, if he's able to keep DeAndre Hopkins and he's able to plug him in for Rondale Moore or however he wants to play him, this team will be very fun to watch or very fun to analyze in the near weeks.
Josh Palmer got 8 targets for 40 yards and a touchdown. He's on a really good offense. So you probably want Palmer to actually be he's a 4 of 9.
Yeah.
Give me 10.
I like a Purvis team a lot.
I'm telling you, I have no confidence in Judy. Fuck Judy. The family show. Regret saying that. I'm just kind of tired of Judy's antics.
Okay.
Getting hurt, never really coming through. Accidentally pressed play on the Stephania Bell take on Judy there. I like a Purvis team a lot because I love Amon-Ra. Diggs is incredible. Herbert's awesome, but Henry and the Titans look terrible. Cam Akers, not trustable. Judy, Origami, Rondale Moore. My love from last year. Let me just really quickly say, when I traded Jamar Chase to Bocker last year, one of the greatest mistakes in league history. Bocker, he'll tell you that this was just a diversion, but initially he was coming for Rondale. He was because Rondale came off an amazing week 1, and he was I would like Rondale. I'm no touching Rondale, dude. Rondale's too important.
Off limits. That was your guy who was untouchable, was Rondale Moore.
Chase had 4 receptions for 70-something yards. They kind of taught me a lesson to pay attention to college performance, tape, pedigree, all that sort of stuff. So, Garrett guy.
Jamar was good.
Guy is your baby.
Jamar was good. But look, I also think, man, I think Ted had the week last week that we thought he would have week 1, right? Etienne showed up, Cordy P's in the mix, Kupp had another 20-burger.
A.J. Brown was back down. A.J. Brown didn't do much. Cordy P was down. Etienne was fine.
Mark Andrews had a nice day.
50 points. So
that'll keep you afloat, right? That'll keep you afloat. But I thought A.J. Brown had a better game. Well, I guess only 9. Well, still.
A.J. Brown had a butt game, but good news for him, he also has Devontae Smith. There's no chance he's starting Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown the same week unless something's gone wrong or there's a bye week. But
he's got Sterling Shepard. He's got Sterling Shepard on the bench, and Chase Edmonds is when Tua's not throwing for touchdowns.
His team is all sleeper darling. Mooney had 80-something catches last year. Another year of seasoning on field. He's going to pop. And then he's got Chase Edmonds with the lead back role, but is it really? Ramondre with he's better than Harris, but is he really? Sterling Shepard blocking Kadarius. Is he that good? Or is it just that Daniel Jones is that bad? He needs a guy he knows. I don't know. This team is a Cooper Kupp-led team. It's just like a Purvis. Cooper Kupp, Lamar, set it and forget it. Start a bunch of plumbers. Start a bunch of just guys off the street. Doesn't really matter. They have a really high floor. Mark Andrews had the Mark Andrews top 10, number 5 overall receiving guy last year game. Mark Andrews is good. He's a good man.
Yeah, I like Ted's team, but I'll give this one to a Purva just because I would say right now, as of week 3, I would give a Purva. I would say he's probably a top 2-3 team in this league. So I like a Purva to have another big week. That Miami Bills game will be fun.
Right now.
Yeah, and
Stephon Diggs week 1 and 2 had 22.2 and 38.8, and Amon-Ra had 16.4. Boo. And 34 points. Insane. Best wide receiver room in the game.
Yeah, and then like I said, he's got DeAndre waiting in the wings. So it'll be nice to see when a Purvis team is at full strength. And we'll see what Justin Herbert does. But I'll give this matchup to Desai. The team Desai.
I will too.
Yeah, and that'll be fun because we'll be at
Let me just
Bocker's
say
wedding.
real quick before we depart here, he has Cade York, the kicker for the Browns. He had 5.5 as a kicker last week.
He's not afraid to make tackles.
To the ground.
He's not afraid.
Unbelievable performance.
He's not afraid to make a tackle.
That's a really gritty kicker. Let's talk about at this point. Let's keep it moving along, and gotta be your squad.
Let's do it, man.
Because you're going against a guy whose pockets are lined thick with one Ulysses S. Grant $50 bill. I mean, Schwartz went from having a horrible week, us having an impression of what his team was, to having the opposite week, reverse performance from positional players. Walk me through what you saw out there on the pitch.
Yeah,
Walk me through what you saw.
I think it's interesting because he has a team where I think a week ago when we were doing this, we're like, his best receiver is who? Drake London, maybe Jalen Waddle, and then like both of them had absolute monster weekends.
Waddle. And it is also London. Yeah.
No, they had monster weeks.
Like a great pickup.
Yeah. No, he's got a better team than you thought. So I think when you have a guy like Kamara sitting out and Dalvin Cook getting like 10 touches for like 6 points or whatever, 5.6.
He looks bad.
Yeah, but I think this team is a lot better than we gave him credit for, honestly, with a 50 burger in his pocket. So I like Waddle. So. I like Waddle. I like Drake London in Seattle.
They're going to be from Tua clunkers. Tua is going to have a 4 interception day. Mark my words. Like, we are feeling the Miami offense after having to come from behind. They were getting shellacked, so they had to just have this crazy over-the-top offense, which they're uniquely positioned to do. Which I guess if you have Tyreek and Waddle, why wouldn't you just do it from the jump? Why wouldn't you just run your 2-minute offense immediately? Because it seems more effective than just running halfback draws. But yeah, I think Waddle and Tua, and he's going to start Rodgers. It's a weird position he's in because Tua's so electric with that offense right now. McDaniel seems to be firing all cylinders, so he's he's Aaron Rodgers though, so I'll start him. He's got choices. He's got depth. It's a Schwartz team.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's got Waller on the bench. Waller, I guess he doesn't bank on Waller having 2 good games in a row, and I guess he was a little touchdown dependent. But yeah, Dan has a good team. I really believe that Kamara and Cook, and now he's got James Conner in the mix. And did James play last week? He did, but he only had 6.
He got knocked out of the game.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Dan's team is, he's a 2-time champion. I think Dan's got firepower. Curtis Samuel was a very savvy pickup.
One-time champion. One time.
2013, 2020.
Dan won twice?
2020 and 2013.
Wait a minute. Dan won in 2013. Doesn't seem right.
It sure is. Yeah, Dan had it.
Why don't you hit us in the comments if this is right? Why don't you drop it in the comments if you won twice?
Yeah, Dan's a 2-time winner. So he's got a good team. And look, for my guys, we had an all-time clunker, which to me has me very excited for this week. I don't have to worry about
26 points from Bucks. 26 points from Bucks. You gonna get that again against Green Bay?
Probably not. But we don't know who he's starting. Maybe Dan's pretty savvy on the wire. I think Dan will probably get a good defense. Maybe he picks up that Colts defense on Saturday. We'll see.
He's starting Tony Pollard against the Jets. We'll see how that works out for him. Tony Pollard had a touchdown and had a lot of long catching receiving plays.
Tony Pollard.
Talk about your team now.
On the Giants. Yeah. So my team, like I said, I had a bit of a clunker this week, and to some that would be discouraging. But to me, it just makes me that more excited for week 3. I got Travis on a 10-day.
Like I said, you're just like a Purvis team. You're just like a Purvis.
Yeah, we're top heavy.
Jefferson Diggs, right? Jefferson Diggs. You've got a Henry Mixon, like a top flight guy. Kind of stops there. But you also have Kelsey. He has Amon Ross. You have 2 set it and forget it. You'll never look back pass catchers. They're in your lineup every week no matter what, unless they're dead. And then you've got Hunter Renfrow, who you probably came into the year being nice. A little underwhelming. But Al Lazard, one week back. Rodgers likes him.
Yeah.
Walk me through what you like.
So I think, for me, the way I tried to build this team was obviously, to your point, Mixon, Kelsey, and Jefferson are my set it and forget it guys. I like Lazard getting 3 targets, I don't like that, but I like that one of them was a touchdown.
I like 3 targets.
What I like is one of them was a touchdown because he didn't play a lot. It's hard to install a game plan when you have a guy who can't practice. So I think Lazard gets better. If Lazard isn't the guy I think he will be, my team is in trouble because I have him as valued as like a top 20 receiver. And then Renfro was kind of like my low floor. Well, that's why there's chocolate and vanilla ice cream. I think Lazard. I like Lazard, and if he's not my guy, then I got to look elsewhere. But I think Renfro was my kind of low.
You should look on your bench. Ty Lockett signed 11 catches, 11 targets, nine catches from Geno. I mean, year in and year out, Lockett. Another example of Dima. I tried to trade for Lockett last year in the first 3 weeks when he was incredible, and Dima was like, "Fat chance, dude. He's the best," and then he got worse from that point forward.
Yeah, Lockett's tricky. Lockett's a bit of a landmine guy because I started him last week and it was an absolute dud. I think I started him because Lazard was hurt. He had 3 for 28, and then this week he goes out for 9 for 107. So he's not a guy. I would feel probably better about starting Zach Ertz than most. I think Ertz is a little bit more consistent. So, yeah, I mean, look, I have to find a backup quarterback after Trey Lance broke his ankle. But
are you going to start Bengals against the Jets? That's a tough matchup for the Bengals. The Jets are electric.
I will say that I do love having some action in a Thursday night game. And it's very the years I've won the banners, both years I've rostered 2 defenses. So that was I do like having a second defense, but I don't know if I can roster 2 with my lack of depth. So
Steelers against Cleveland's pretty juicy.
Yeah, it's a short week. They're on the road, so I don't know. I'm going to have to make a decision tomorrow, but we'll see which defense I start. But look, I also think Stafford is only going to get better. I think he's got 5 picks right now, and at the pace he's at, he is going to set the record for single season interceptions.
We only got 5 picks now.
5 picks through 2 games.
Fumbles that he recovered himself.
So look, I think Stafford is.
You're at least going to drop one guy. You're at least going to drop Trey Lance.
Yeah, we know that much. We know. Do I look for QB number 2, or am I taking a flyer on a third defense? We don't know. But I it's hard for me to say.
I like it for you this week.
Yeah,
I think that Justin Jefferson against Detroit is going to just feast. I think he's going to have the Justin Jefferson Week 1 game. Travis Kelce's ingratiating himself, like showing everybody, like, I'm Travis Kelce. Last week was kind of a weird game script. He's going to take it to Indianapolis, take it to them. And I just think that Stafford's going to have a great day. Those Arizona-LA matchups. And I do think that Schwartz's team is going to regress in the pass game, and I don't believe his running backs, to be honest with you. I don't believe him.
It's funny because, like I said, it's hard for me to have a lot of confidence after an 80-point week, but I love the bounce back. So
You're projected to win. You are projected to win.
Am I really?
ESPN standard.
Oh, okay.
By 1 point. And maybe that's deception.
I'll take it.
By Dan, because he's like benching Connor
and Darren Waller. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, man. Either way, I think once again, after a week like I had, if I'm having another week like week 2, then it's time to press the panic button. But I think we're going to bounce back. But I don't know. Dan's team and my team are 2 very volatile teams. We are Dan was the week 1 ranked 12. I was the week 2 ranked 12th. So you have a toilet bowl, as it were, here.
Yeah.
But yet the winner will be 2-1.
I'm going to take your team, though. I'm going to take your team. I just think that Dan had a great day, but, it's comeback fueled. Drake London feeling himself. So let's come back to earth, Dan.
All right.
Let's talk about the matchup that I think we all are.
We couldn't wait for this one.
To get the league up most nights, blow plunges versus CD had a little lamb, which tells me, look, Demas said before, couldn't set my rosters. I'm a dad. Couldn't do this. I'm a dad. He didn't see a trade proposal for a couple of days. I'm a dad. Got his team name from last year, which still plays because he has CD Lamb. But I mean, when you see this sort of thing and you're not a pervert decide. Rob's doing it too. Makes me sad. Bums me out.
I'll say this, man. The Jamal Williams start for Dima is ambitious, and I like that.
Talk about right now.
I think as it stands on Thursday, he's got. Yeah, he's. I think Burrow's had a tough 2 weeks. I think their backs against the wall, and I don't know. I think Joe has him in this game.
Going against Minnesota this week.
Yeah.
Against Kirk.
Well, I'm talking. Sorry, Joe Burrow has a Jets matchup, and then he's going to have Najee. Yeah. He's going to have Najee against Cleveland.
The defense is bad. Sauce Gardner's hurt, so.
I think Joe will have a nice game against my Jets. I like Najee on a short week. Gibson, how is Gibson?
Like if he had years of spot treatments daily, I think Najee's just. I don't want any part of Pittsburgh.
You don't want any part of that offense? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I get it. Yeah, he's 9-11. I don't know. I was an Najee owner last year and loved him. Gibson is relevant. I mean, Jamal Williams, I think how many touches did he get last week?
Gibson had a trash day except for a touchdown, which is okay. Let's say in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, Brian Robinson comes back and just is like, oh, this guy's a better runner. Oh, he's just as good of a pass catcher. Gibson's irrelevant. So soak it up now. But I mean, last week, if he didn't have that touchdown, he'd have like 6 points.
Touchdown, yeah. It's a bit of a Hail Mary with the touchdown piece. But look, he got the touchdown, and
he did.
He got the touchdown. So I think, look,
Gabe Davis on the bench. So like Gabe Davis,
if he plays, that'll be huge.
He was like a game time decision. Didn't play. Definitely gonna play this week, barring some wacky stuff. And then you pull Smith-Schuster out of the lineup, who's honestly like waiver fodder at this point. I mean, he's not, but
yeah, I like Smith. Someone's got to be the non-Kelsey option, and for me, you look at I don't know, look at Juju. It's a bit of a bummer for him so far. I thought this was really the year Juju comes back, but yeah, that Chargers matchup.
He's only like 20. Dude,
he's so young. Yeah, dude, he was drafted out. Like, yeah, he's young, man, and then you have your team. And I'll say this, man.
Oh, man.
I'll say this.
Man.
How the fuck is Jonathan Taylor getting like 10 touches in week 2? That's what
I'm saying. How, 10 touches, and like he's 54 yards on 9 carries. Like
I don't get it,
man.
Do
you want to win the game?
That's what it seems like. So I would take right now as a prop. First coach to get fired is Frank Reich, because Irsay is kind of like, kind of a weirdo. But like, if you're 0-2 and Jonathan Taylor, by far the best running back in the league, has 10 touches in the game you're losing, like,
right.
I don't get it. I really don't know what the plan is, especially without Pittman.
Either. So it wasn't like let's force it to dueling. You got to get Mo Alley Cox involved.
Right.
It was a very confounding.
No, I don't get it.
Game script. They gave it to him late in the game, and he on back-to-back plays, like
a 30-yard gain. Yeah, no, it was very weird.
Hey, take a blow, Jonathan. We're going to bring Naheem back out and get stuffed on a flat. It was very weird. I don't think that's going to happen again, because it's one of those things where, like, the game didn't go well for the team. So they're going to get scrutinized from the top down. And Irsay, to your point, is a weirdo. He's kind of like the guy from the Falcons. It's kind of like, what the fuck? Like, it's like on the sideline and shit. So he's going to look at us and be like, don't we have the best guy at his position?
You got to play the hits, right? Man. You go to the concert, to hear the number one classics. I don't go to Chumbawamba. I don't go to Chumbawamba concerts to hear their concepts.
Concert once, he didn't play "What's Up, Fat Lip," and I get it. It's because he was like very sad and recorded that, but that's all I wanted to hear.
You got to hit the hits. Play the hits, man. And the hits for the Colts right now are get the motherfucking ball to Jonathan Taylor. So look, JT, I think I could see you got a primetime game for Russell, his second primetime in 3 weeks. I have a little theory on this gambling-wise that players don't like. I don't know if it's a theory, but players don't like primetime games. It fucks up the rhythm. It fucks up their schedule.
No, it's a weird schedule. There's like all this extra press they have to take part in.
Exactly. And Russell, what Russell needs now is consistency. He needs a bunch of 1 o'clock or 4 o'clocks if they're in the West Coast.
I saw some tweet that it was like Kirk Cousins sees that he has a home game coming up at 1 p.m. and it's just a video of like Stephon Diggs being like, I'm him. I'm like, that is right. Like, yeah. Kirk Cousins sees at 1 o'clock.
Kirk loves that one slot. Yeah.
Let's go. I mean, look, Jonathan Taylor will be fine, I think. Because it wasn't exactly like the Colts last year were like, scaring people. And yet Jonathan Taylor was incredible. I don't want to talk too much about my team other than we're incredible. I'm not worried about Austin Eckler.
Bro, think it's very basic. He got 31 touches. gave you 25 points in the first week. They gave him 9 rushes, 1 reception, man. It's like the offense should be built around this guy. And maybe it's because it's a 17-game season. Coaches don't want to overload their workhorse 2 weeks in a row because this is the second year we're working on a schedule like this.
Both preseason PR statements from the Chargers and the Colts, 2 of the highest usage guys in the whole NFL last year, Eckler and Taylor, were like, we need to distribute our touches. We need to protect our guys. And so far for the Chargers, they're absolutely doing that. They're like inexplicably layering in Sonny Michel early in the game.
Yeah,
but
and
like,
goal line, yeah.
It's kind of honestly, it's kind of like what you saw with like the Dolphins game. Like when it mattered, like 2-minute drills, when you were on third down, like when you were actually like, oh shit, we need to get a first down. Like we have to try to like do well. Eckler was out there, just like for the Dolphins. Edmonds was out there for like the important plays. I think the teams are going to like this early in the season, to your point, protect their guys who you're going to want to like throw out there for any type of possible play later in the season or in a game where it matters. And then my wide receivers are an absolute fucking disaster.
Yeah, I mean, you with Mike Evans on the suspension. I mean, Traylon Burks. Did you start Traylon last week?
No.
Okay, so this is Traylon's first action. So you're going with 2 rookies in Traylon and obviously the Garrett, the GOAT, and then DK and Hawkinson. And I mean,
DK, come back, baby. This is gonna be a DK week. You're like, I'm gonna get a nice like touchdown, 60 yards from DK, 4 or 5 receptions. Let's go. And no
Rashad Penny. And I guess Rashad. I mean, he had a decent week 1, a 1.5 week 2. You just can't
not
start
decent. 7 points. I'm not touching Rashad. And by the way, I think. Look, they're so bad, the Seahawks. Like, Rashad Penny had no targets. He had a couple more carries than Kenneth Walker. They both averaged 2.5 yards a carry, and Kenneth Walker was, like, involved in the passing game. Honestly, I might just drop Penny. Like, you guys, someone else in the league could pick Penny up.
Yeah, I think looking at your roster, it's tricky for you to roster 2 guys who won't play until mid-October. And
oh, really? Is it tricky to be so good that I can do that?
That you have that luxury? But no, I think for you, it's like, yeah, I mean, you do what you want, but I think, yeah, you have 2 guys, and it's normally rough when the bye weeks start. So I don't know when your bye weeks are, but like 2 guys who are guaranteed to not play. Yeah, so we'll see if they're still on the roster week 5 or 6. But I don't know. Look, you're
what, Jameson and Bullet Bryan? 1,000%.
When is
you guys are not leaving my roster.
Bullet Bryan?
What are you talking about? There's no chance that I'm going to, heading into week 3, when both of these guys are projected to come back week 5, going to drop these guys. Jameson is like what are you talking about?
Hold on. Bryan is coming back week 5?
Dude, he's already back in practice.
Dude, that's
like
Jesus, that's insane.
Like,
he was shot. He was literally shot, and they're just like, you know what, man, just rub some dirt on it, get back on the sideline.
Just a flesh wound.
Dude, good for Ron Rivera. Dude, good for Rivera. He's like, you rookie? I played for that fucking Ditka defense.
Dude, he's going to give this guy full of bullets who like had surgery to remove the bullets. Like, he's getting so much time.
That's crazy.
I'm going to have him for like 11 regular season games. You're asking me to drop him. It's week 3. What I'm saying is Garrett's going to go off. Traylon had 4 for 47 at halftime. And I'm tired of talking about my team. This is too much. Let's move on to the waivers because it's going to be tomorrow morning. People might hear that before the waivers. Who knows? It's slam pigs out there. Slam pigs out there.
Yeah.
For exciting people.
I mean, who you got the look ahead lines on the big pickups? Who are the guys going in these Wednesday pickup leagues?
Right now, the most picked up guy for the percentages is Carson Wentz. He got picked up. His percentage of rostered owned went up 48% this week from last week. I mean, like, Carson Wentz scored in the 30s both weeks. So if you're like me or Josh, like, interesting, Carson Wentz. He was like gunslinging and is going up against the Eagles, so he's probably not going to have
revenge game, a classic revenge game from the team that turned their back.
And plus, it's a 1:00 game, just sliding right in, not national. He might have a nice game. They have a lot of weapons, so I mean, the Manders do have a lot of weapons. Beyond that, I mean, it seems like people are loving picking up Gerald Everett Get your cardio up, Gerald, but, I mean, did a good offense. He should have done more.
Jared Everett with an all-time bad visual on Thursday night. As what's his name? Whoever on the KC had a pick six. Gerald stands there and picks up his mouthpiece. So that was a tough visual.
But I'll tell you though, some of these pickups are a little skewed because it's like tight ends are getting picked up. People need to start tight ends elsewhere. Not our league, dude.
Right.
We're innovative. It's a freak show. So if I'm looking at RBs, wide receivers, who is the most picked up person? It's Devin Duvernay. Who I think after
multiple touchdowns for dudes.
Schwartz would have paid $9 for Duvernay. If someone had outbid him for Curtis Samuel and outbid him for like Sharp, he was in for like $10 for Duvernay, uncontested. Thank God Duvernay had a kick return or a touchdown. He didn't do shit else. But he is the most picked up running back or wide receiver across ESPN. Dontrell Hilliard, cup of coffee with your team. People like him. They obviously didn't look very good without him.
Yeah.
They need a pass catching back.
Yeah, we'll see if he's healthy enough to go. It's always tricky with the soft tissue injuries with a hammy after week
Very
2.
soft.
But I'll say this.
How about this guy? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Corey Davis, 10 and 15. Granted, it was like a 7 or, he had like a 60-yard touchdown play. But Corey,
for 15 points.
You like that. But the other guy I'm looking at personally, and I guess I'm just giving it away, is Van Jefferson. Van was a big part of the Rams offense last year. Yeah, Van is a good player, man. He's been hurt. If he's back there, another reason I like Stafford. He's a good player for them, and he's like a slot hybrid. He's Van Jefferson. If you need maybe don't get you.
So you're thinking like no Woods, no Odell, like Van can slot right in.
Van knows the offense well. He had a few big games last year. Yeah, so I think Van is a wide receiver 3 type.
So my guy is Broncos backup fullback Andrew Beck. He's getting option plays called for him.
You love that.
They're asking him to scamper and toss. I fucking hate Nathaniel.
Yeah, Hackett is public enemy number 1.
Nathaniel.
Dude, how about
Nathaniel? But real quick, interesting pickups. Cole Beasley was signed to the Bucs. They're going to elevate him from the practice squad. That's kind of exciting. In the same room, you have Brashad Perriman's also available. If we think that Russell Gage actually sucks ass, which he does, Tom Brady has to throw to somebody, and he has thrown successfully in the past to Brashad Perriman, and Cole Beasley is good. He's just a bad guy with bad views.
Yeah, and limited teeth. He doesn't. I don't think he's got a full set, Cole. But I could see it being a big being a big Perriman week. He had a nice touchy, and Tom doesn't have a lot of options.
Big Perriman. You've got James Conner has not returned. The Terminator has not returned to practice yet. Right? It's Wednesday. We're going to Thursday. Hasn't practiced yet. Darrell Williams you could have started in advance last week, and you would have been a madman, and he would have rewarded you by having a nice day. Benjamin's also available for one-time cup of coffee on a Purvis team. So, Darrell, you actually have a starting running back on the waiver wires. Just pick the right one and hope that, Connor doesn't come back.
Interesting.
Noah Brown? Anybody? Noah Brown?
Yeah, he had a touchdown. He had a nice game. Dude, Noah Brown looked like a really good player on Sunday. I was watching the national coverage was the Bengals-Cowboys game, and Noah Brown looked like
he was like their 5th-string wide receiver.
He looked good. Yeah, he looked like he was a competent option.
Yeah. He's got 14 targets so far, 5 receptions in each game, 5 for 91 on a touchdown this past game on 5 targets, call 5. I mean, don't get picked up. People have worse players. People have worse players on their rosters as we speak. I think we can all do a little bit better. I don't think Aguilar is going to do 11 targets for 9 and 138 a touchdown again. I just don't think. But what do I know?
He's capable of it. He's capable. He needed the fresh start after the bad press in Philly. But
look, there's some RB needy teams, right? Only 2 running backs are projected to have 6 or more points. Can you name them off the top of your head? Don't look. You better not be fucking looking. Don't you goddamn look.
Yeah, I got nothing here, man. You're asking me what the running
only two running backs projected to have 6 or more points on the waiver wires this week. Currently available. Slim pickings.
Can I
That's
see who's
nothing going
available?
on there.
Can I see who's available and not look at projections? I'm doing it.
Yeah, all right. I'll give you a list. We got Josh Kelly, Eno Benjamin, Brandon Bolden, Justice Hill, Travis Homer, Samaj Kareem, Hilliard, Jordan Mason, Zach Moss, Tyler Algier.
I would say Algier and maybe Moss. I don't know.
That is exactly right.
Okay.
Those are the two guys.
There you go.
6.1 and 6.3. Good for you.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
But look, it's a bad week on the waivers. I already picked up the guys to stash. The week to stash already did it. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, I think what I like about our league is we get ahead of stuff early. We get ahead of stuff early. So I think especially in our league, I was talking to Josh about it. It's tough to even make waiver claims because we're all going after the same guy. So I think this week backup quarterbacks will be targeted, probably wide receivers, and I think we're going to see some revolving defenses. And there's always going to be an IDP going in and out. I had a 2-point game from Campbell, so maybe I'll be looking to get a fresh face on that side.
Ted's dropping 2 points on Jordan Hicks, which reminds me, I gotta go take a look at what Jordan did for those two uncontested week 1
two American
IDP fab.
$2 American.
That two American.
Interesting.
Look, it's gonna be a very exciting morning. 4.5. You earned it. But look, man, incredible week. Rookies are percolating. The matchups are so prime for us to all be watching together in suits, hair looking good come Sunday.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Hopefully all of our matchups are like very good on Sunday too. Well, someone's gonna be watching. There's gonna be a TV in the mix, no doubt. It's in Jersey City.
We'll find something. No, we're excited, man. It'll be a good Sunday, and Bocker, congratulations. It'll be great, man. We're excited.
The Sacrament King.
And then, yeah. So anyway, enjoy the rest of the week. We'll put this up tomorrow morning on Thursday, and hopefully y'all can today morning. Yeah,
when
sure.
you see this, it'll be today.
It'll be today.
That's right.
So, all right, guys.
Guys.
We love y'all. Smash that like button. Peace.
Smash that like button.